Let's talk about the fantastically bad idea that is Worldcoin. What would you call a group of ultra-wealthy tech bazillionaires who control the income for a significant portion of the world, billions of whom rely on that money just to scrape by, and this same group of tech titans also control a global biometric database of their subjects? You'd probably call them a dystopian one-world government nightmare. You would not call them philanthropists. That's an overly simplified take on the topic, but you get the gist. Worldcoin is the brainchild of Sam Altman. If you don't know who he is, Altman is a force to be reckoned with, to be sure, a genius. The former president of Y Combinator, who helped make that group the premier tech startup accelerator on planet Earth. He's also a co-founder of OpenAI, a consortium of tech leaders, including Elon Musk, building arguably the most impressive artificial intelligence on planet Earth. If you've ever seen their GPT-3 algorithm at work, you'll know how mind-blowing it is. It can mimic anybody's language. It can create images from a simple text description. It can write functional computer code. GPT-3 was so good at writing believably human language that the researchers behind it delayed releasing information about it because they were concerned it might be used to cause mayhem online. In the wrong hands, a bad actor might create a near limitless army of bots that would be nearly indistinguishable from real humans to spam or brigade any number of targets. Okay, if that's not a villainous origin story, then I don't know what is. But back to the point, Altman has been instrumental in spinning up thousands of tech startups and OpenAI, and now he's launching Worldcoin, supposedly with the intention of creating a global social safety net for the most vulnerable people in the world. Okay, now that you've got the backstory on Altman, where do we even start with Worldcoin? Let's look at their plan in their words. The creators of Worldcoin have developed a system of cataloging individual humans worldwide. A special piece of hardware called an orb will scan a user's eyes, and from their unique eye print create a unique numerical hash, or iris hash, essentially an unforgeable unique numerical ID per person. The photo is then deleted, and from the scan the user gets a ticket. The ticket can then be exchanged for Worldcoin. What I see people saying is that this is meant to be a sort of universal basic income. If you're not familiar, universal basic income is an old but increasingly popular idea being brought up again and again by the world's tech billionaires like Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg, and last year popularized by presidential candidate Andrew Yang, asserting that the governments of the world need to just give people money into perpetuity to ensure that they can sustain themselves when they are forever replaced in the job market by robots who can do their jobs better, cheaper, and faster. That's a whole other topic on its own. But without getting into the weeds on UBI, it just doesn't make sense here. First of all, you won't find that phrase anywhere on the Worldcoin site. UBI, or Universal Basic Income, is not mentioned anywhere. That's not how the Worldcoin backers themselves are describing the system. And as far as I can tell, they only intend to make a single payment to the people who enroll. It's not ongoing payments every month or every year like you'd expect with UBI. So what's going on here? What are they really getting at? I think this is an effort to launch a new cryptocurrency that overcomes network effects and creates a new economy that makes Altman and his Worldcoin investors much, much richer. So what are network effects? It's simple, really. Network effects, or more specifically, something called Metcalfe's law, states that a network gets more valuable as more people use it. So if you're the first person to use a fax machine, it's useless. But if you're the second person, or the 10th person, or the 100th, or the millionth, or the billionth, it's increasingly valuable with every new participant. This is largely what makes something like Bitcoin so valuable. Bitcoin is the cryptocurrency that gained the most traction. It is the granddaddy of all the others. It's battle tested, and anybody who is into cryptocurrency will know about it, and will almost certainly hold some. And because so many people have it and hold it, it's valuable. If you think back to the beginning of Bitcoin, very few people knew about it, and Bitcoins were not very valuable. This network effect problem is actually really hard to overcome. It's not easy to make a new network popular. In fact, that's usually only something the very first in a category can do. And once there's a market leader with a huge lead, it's almost impossible to overtake them. At this point, there are tens of thousands of cryptocurrencies in the world. So how do you create a new one and make it popular so it becomes valuable? Invest heavily in giving it to the poorest people on Earth. And with each new participant, it can theoretically get quite valuable. This would explain why there are investors in Worldcoin, despite presenting itself as a philanthropic effort. The project is backed by $25 million from Andreessen Horowitz, Coinbase Ventures, LinkedIn co-founder Reid Hoffman, and crypto billionaire Sam Bankman-Fried, the founder of the FTX crypto exchange. You don't invest millions in a project without expecting to get your money back many times over. If this were purely philanthropic, it would just be a grant or a gift, not an investment. And if the object was to give people money to help them out of poverty, You could just give them money. There's plenty of money that already exists, including Bitcoin. You don't need to create a new kind of money. But that's not what's happening. They're launching a new crypto token with the hope that it'll increase massively in value and bring a meaningful portion of the world into their network. Doesn't this whole thing just seem really creepy? Scanning eyeballs? And if this whole thing succeeds, then wouldn't it establish Altman and his friends as a de facto new world government? A lot of people seem pretty worried about the likes of Mark Zuckerberg and Jeff Bezos and the sway they already hold over the globe. This is just like Altman and his friends saying they want to do the same but better. We want to rule the world. We would do a better job. There are many famous quotes on the perils of controlling the money supply. The whole reason Bitcoin was invented in the first place was because Satoshi Nakamoto, whoever he, she, or they are or were, decided that the money men were not behaving responsibly. Remember, Bitcoin was invented right after the 2008 financial collapse, so Satoshi invented a network that nobody could singularly control and nobody could bend to their personal advantage. But apparently Altman didn't get the memo. Details on how Worldcoin's economy will be controlled and governed are vague at best. From the Worldcoin site, and I quote, "We are in the early stages of designing Worldcoin's long-term governance strategy, grant programs, and partnerships roadmap." In other words, they're still figuring out the details of who controls it and how. That, or they're unwilling to publish those details at the moment. I honestly think Altman is trying to do something good here, but man, it just feels like the origin story for a Bond villain. I'm dubious of the whole thing, and I am not alone. The whole project has gotten huge lashback from the internet, including Mr. Privacy himself, Edward Snowden, who tweeted that he was similarly uncomfortable with a global database of eyeball scans. Altman, to his credit, has acknowledged those concerns, but hasn't announced any change of plans just yet. And I mean, just look at the orb. Look at it. Is that not super dystopian? It's HAL 9000. It's those terrifying drones from that Tom Cruise sci-fi flick Oblivion. It's Gladys and Wheatley from Portal and Portal 2. Did Altman think it would be more like, I don't know, friendly, cute? Like BB-8? Regardless, a column in Vice recently called Worldcoin dystopian, albeit light on details. I couldn't agree more. They spend a great deal more time explaining how they intend to implement Worldcoin than they do explaining why they're implementing Worldcoin. I'm not totally clear on what they're trying to do because they're not totally clear on what they're trying to do. What is clear is they have investors, so they're definitely trying to make gobs of money with this. Fine. And they're out of touch with people. They thought this would be welcoming. I mean, slap that thing on top of a Boston Robotics Atlas robot, and you've got a thing of sci-fi nightmares. This is a Black Mirror episode waiting to happen. What do you think? Is Worldcoin a good idea? Are they explaining it well enough to people? The answer to that question is no. Is this the beginning of the robot uprising? Let me know down in the comments. Thanks, team. We'll talk again soon.